All right, well, that's Coors Field for you right there. 13-9, the final tonight. Padres win game 1 of this series. They were not that close here in this game. I was never even when Suarez came into the game and it was getting closer, I was never worried that the Padres were gonna lose this game, but it was just frustrating watching at the end there, seeing Robert Suarez come into this game when the Padres were up, what, 13-2 at one point? No, 12-2? 12-2 at one point, and 12-1, actually, before the McMahon homer, and Suarez ends up having to come in because of the situation that they were in. Wandy, he comes in, Alec Jacob, Sean Reynolds as well. You know, Thankfully, there were not a bunch of runners on when those homers were hit, right? Gavin Sheets, right, today, for example, he comes up big. It wasn't a homer, but he came up and cleared the bases. Merrill, Crony, and Arise scoring to make it 5-0. The Rockies didn't have that on those homers. Toglia was a solo homer. Who was the other? McMahon, solo homer. Jordan Beck, solo homer. So that was the good thing because if those guys, it was a 3-run homer, a couple 3-run homers, then it would have been even closer of a game. But yeah, it just shows you that no lead is safe if you go put in your non-high leverage guys because you're up by so much. That's when no lead is safe. I think if it would have been, Vasquez, who by the way pitched well tonight. I know it's the Rockies, so people may not care too much about it, but really what I care about was that he only walked one guy, and the one walk that he had was in his last inning that he pitched. He got 5 punch outs. I know a couple of homers, but it's Colorado. Like that's going to happen sometimes. And as a back end starter to go 6 innings like that's huge because these are relievers the Padres don't want to be using their big guys in this series. They did not want to use Robert Suarez tonight. And it sucks that they had to use him, but you want to be blowing out the Rockies and have this series be like a nice weekend off for these guys because Jason Adam, he's on pace, I think, for 90 innings or something this year. He's been pitching a lot. So you don't want these guys, especially beginning of May here, um, pitching in games that you don't need them to be pitching in. They're facing a terrible team. This team could be the worst team in baseball history. They're 6-32 now. Have this be a nice weekend off, and have this be a weekend where you have your top guys like Manny, Tatis, Merrill. Have these guys, have a few innings off every night. That's what I hope happens. And it happened tonight, with guys being able to get off their feet. I know it was an off day yesterday, but that's what you want when you're facing a trash team like this. And so, yeah, it was a little disappointing to see Suarez. Actually, a lot disappointing. Doesn't ruin my night or anything, but it just pisses you off seeing Suarez have to go out there. But shout out to Randy Vasquez tonight again, like the minimizing of the free passes. That was the best way I could say that in the moment. One walk. That was great. Sensatella, I feel like he's been with the Rockies for a decade. Kind of like Blackman when Blackman was on the team. Nick Mann seems to be that guy now for the Rockies. There's a lot of these names where I know these names, but they don't feel like they've been with the Rockies forever. Ryan McMahon is that one guy now that sticks out. Sensatella on the pitching side is the other guy. Kyle Freeland as well. I forget if the Padres will. I think Sunday maybe they face Freeland. But yeah, that guy's been with the Rockies forever. But yeah, it's a bad team. Bud Black, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting fired at some point this year. But that's not his fault. Like he was the same manager that took the Rockies to the postseason, and now it's going to be his fault because the Rockies aren't winning games and they're terrible. Come on, that's not fair to Bud. But maybe it would be a good thing for Buddy Black because then he wouldn't have to manage the Rockies. Publicly, he would say, "Yeah, it's one of 30 jobs or whatever. It's awesome to manage in the big leagues, and I'm sure it is, but it's got to be some long days for him to be having to watch this team. Ownership just hasn't provided him with enough, clearly. And it's the same thing with Derek Shelton with the Pirates. I know I'm kind of getting off from away from the Padres, but that pisses me off too. Seeing like Derek Shelton lose his job, Bud Black possibly at some point when it can't be their fault, you know? Let's put, don't mention urgency in a statement like the Pirates owner did when you're not spending enough money, anywhere near enough money on the team that you're giving the manager. And you're saying that, oh, you need more urgency. Okay, yeah, cut the crap, Look in the mirror a little bit. But anyway, back to the Padres. I don't have a ton to add on this game. I wasn't able to watch the entire game, but just doing what you're supposed to do, right? Facing a bad team, come through, and it's great that we can see Jackson Merrill and Jake Cronenworth in this lineup, and it's close to what the opening day lineup was. I know there's been some changes because like Yuli Gurriel's not on the roster anymore, but this is what you got, and I love it. Tatis, Arise, Manny, Merrill, Bogarts, Crony, Sheets, Hayward, Maldonado. Maldi even homered tonight. Good for him. That was a meatball, but still, good for him. Yeah, I hope this is a series that these guys can get going here. This is the most runs the Padres have scored this season. I don't think they had scored 10 runs on the season. Coors Field against a terrible team, that's a good formula to get to the double digit runs. But yeah, Manny, Sheets, Merrill. Sheets had a big night. Crony scored a couple of times when he's back. I know like he's the competitor and he's going to dive, and I'm sure he's tried diving before and like to be cleared to play. But late in that game on that ball between first and second where he dove for it. If you were watching, you know what I'm talking about. I didn't love that just because of the rib, but it seems like it's as good as it probably is going to get, or at least he's at like 90%. I think Kevin said that on John and Jim today, Kevin AC, that he's around 90%, and that's just about it. And he may get hit there and then he may be done, but he's ready to come back, and so he's ready to come back. So happy to see him in there for sure because they're a better team when they've got their best guys in there. Maldonado's homer made it 10-1 in this game. Crony had an RBI single, made it 13-2. Ofra Nick Martini is DHing for the Rockies. Like, that's this team that they're throwing out there. Their DH is hitting 8th. The DH is hitting 8th. 34-year-old Nick Martini, former Padre, real ones now. Yeah. Rockies fans, at least you got the Denver Nuggets. You got the Avalanche. I don't know enough about the Broncos to know if they're good or not, but at least you got that because holy cow, the Rockies. Bless your heart, I guess, if you're watching all of these games. Man, they stink. But yeah, like after watching tonight, it's like, yeah, sweep. I'm gonna be disappointed if they don't sweep. And there's people that say, well, it's Coors Field, just take 2 out of 3 and you're fine. And it's not the end of the world if they take 2 out of 3, but with how bad this Rockies team is, yeah, just take these wins, These are these wins count the same as wins against the Dodgers, the Yankees, the best teams you play. So take advantage of playing these bad teams and stack these wins up. Get further away from 500 because as we've seen already, injuries can happen, bad play, tough opponents, tough road trips, things can happen. I think that's really all I got on the game. I mean, it is what it is. Coors Field, they won the game. I'm not freaking out much about the bullpen. Like, these aren't their high leverage guys. It's Coors Field, whatever. They won the game. Double digit runs, great. But the Padres did make a trade today, and obviously with Crony coming up, Oscar Gonzalez goes down. Not a surprise there. I think that was the consensus. Definitely the majority when I put out that tweet the other day about who goes down when Crony comes up later in the week. The options I gave were Oscar, Iglesias, Wade, and I think Lockridge. And yeah, Oscar was pretty much the obvious answer, but those are, I think, probably some of the other options. I didn't think Wade should have been an option, but I put him in there because maybe some thought he would. or I thought he should be an option there. But getting to this trade, so the Padres, they traded Connor Joe to the Reds today for some guy named Andrew Moore and cash. I don't know who Andrew Moore is, but says he's a right-handed pitcher. You pull up his page on MLB.com, and there is no photo. So that's who Andrew Moore is. Probably not that great of a player. I guess he's in Double A right now, or he was in Double A with Cincinnati's organization. 4.15 ERA, 6 games, 8 2/3 innings. So he's a reliever. Yeah, he had some Double A time last year. I don't know how many people care about Andrew Moore. I don't even know what he looks like because there's no photo. So whatever. But Connor Joe, okay, he goes to the Reds. They got some cash for it too. I guess it's a death piece, but this is one of those where it's like, yeah, San Diego guy doesn't hurt to bring him in, which they did, give him an opportunity, got some time at the big league level, didn't do anything with it, and there you go. So I don't really have a ton to add. I just wanted to say that, yeah, Connor Joe, for those that missed it, he did get traded to the Reds, and now the options, I mean, if like a Rise goes down, they could have Gavin Sheets play first. Crony obviously can play first. Trying to look at who's playing first right now in El Paso because they could have like Campy try out first. They had tonight. El Paso had Trenton Brooks playing first. He was raking early on in the season, and right now he's got an 863 OPS. But yeah, I forget if Eggy's played some first, but I guess they could try maybe Tirso at first. Could they try Campy at first? Or they just bring up Brooks? Yeah, there's a lot of versatile guys in El Paso as possible depth options. But I'm not going to talk too much about that because hopefully that, doesn't even have to happen here. Alrighty, that's all I've got. Padres, again, they dropped 13 on the Rockies in Crony's return. Good to see this lineup back to, full strength. They're not all healthy. It's a baseball season. No one's really fully healthy. But facing the Rockies. Continue to take care of business this weekend. I'll be back with you on Sunday, hopefully go live after the Padres Rockies game there. And yeah, thanks for watching or listening. Appreciate the time. Any thoughts, you can leave them in the comments.